Hi, this is Jürgen Rasmussen. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis blog. I thought I would share a remission case in the realm of mind-body work. And I'm also sharing this case to illustrate how you can sometimes combine approaches. So in this particular case, I combined the framework that I usually operate from, which is a psychological illusion model, with some Sedona method style questions. So I worked with a guy who had, and this is a fun diagnosis, I'll read it up here in English, benign paroxysmal positions vertigo. So it's supposed to be caused by loose crystals in the inner ear, and the symptoms are vertigo, that when you lean back or put your head in particular positions, it seems as if everything rotates and you get these bursts of feeling very, very dizzy that may last for 20 seconds or so. And there's also like uncontrollable eye movements associated with it. So I had this client in here who had that diagnosis. And first of all, what I very often attempt to do with people is I attempt to have them meet their own experience in a radically different way. So there's a very simple formula that you can apply to any stuck symptom or any stuck repetitive experience in the mind-body system, and that is that a symptom is thoughts, emotions, body sensations multiplied by resistance. So if something emerges and you meet it by contracting, tensing, fighting it, demanding that it go away, or you meet it by a lot of rumination and a lot of thinking around it, that has a tendency to cement and strengthen that particular experience. And very often it's the resistance in and of itself that maintains that stuck mind-body loop, so to speak. So the first thing I did was to educate him into the nature of thought, to help him realize, because he had a lot of anxiety, to help him realize that the anxiety that he was experiencing was generated by a set of thoughts, or was thought generated moment by moment. Because usually people have this idea that our anxiety is embedded in objects or so-called external situations or circumstances that make us feel the anxiety. And it's extremely useful and empowering for people to realize that no, it's actually an internal thought that generates the anxiety. And due to us not seeing that, it looks as if it's what we're thinking of, the object, the situation, that where the anxiety is kind of embedded and it makes us feel it. So we did some stuff about that, and that helped a little bit. And then he said to me, yeah, I kind of get that, but when I lean back in the chair, or when I lean back to the right, I get this vertigo. And it's the chair, it's the position of the chair in my body that generates the anxiety and which generates the symptoms. So I said to him, okay, you up for a little experiment? So what I had him do, I had him take a tennis ball. I'll use my cell phone here to kind of demonstrate. I had him throw it at the midline like this, back and forth. And what this does is that it stimulates both hemispheres to work together simultaneously. When people are anxious, the hemispheres usually aren't that well coordinated. There's usually a lot of activity in one and not that much in the other. But if you can do this type of bilateral stimulation, you force the hemisphere to work together, it reduces the internal chatter, so the anxiety goes. So I had him do that, and I had him lean back in the chair and lean back on an angle in the chair as he was throwing the tennis ball back and forth. And, loose crystals in the air or not, this time he discovered that there was no anxiety and there were no symptoms of vertigo. So I said to him, what was that like? And he said, that was interesting. That was actually completely fine. I said to him, look, you sat in the exact same chair. You leaned your body in the same direction. You had your head in the same position. What was different? And he said, well, I didn't have the thinking. And then he went, that's it. Then he was able to lean back in the chair and in various positions without throwing the tennis ball back and forth. And there was still no anxiety. This was a huge kind of aha moment for him to realize the nature of his own experience. Because up until that point, it really looked as if it was the chair and the angle that made him experience in a particular way. But now he realized that, wait a minute, my external environment was exactly the same, but my experience was different. So what actually made the difference? The thinking process. Then we did something else. So what I had him do for a couple of weeks is I had him feel into the symptoms. So whenever the symptoms kind of appeared, I had him feel into them fully and ask the question, am I willing for this experience to appear? Now notice I didn't say, do you want this experience to appear, or do you like this particular experience? It's about the psychological willingness, because it may appear, so it's about the psychological willingness to have the experience. So are you willing for this experience to appear? Then I had him ask 3 questions that I got from Lester Levinson, whose questions emerged into the Sedona method, which has kind of become a more convoluted system. I really preferred the original questions that he had. They're very simple. They are, would I let go of this? Could I let go of this? And when, as in when will I let go of this? So could I let go of this? Would I let go of this? And when? It's deceptively simple. Now, when you ask these questions, you're not asking them to intellectually debate with yourself. You're just kind of throwing the question into your own consciousness, to your own brain, so to speak. An image that I like is like if you were a fisherman, standing by the water, you're just throwing that fishing rod out there. There's just this curious, playful attitude of like, I wonder if there's fish, or I wonder what's going to bite. So it's that type of mindset. Now, after a couple of weeks of doing this, the whole thing, it gradually alleviated, and then it disappeared. Of course, a cynic can say, well, there's likely, it could just be random. You guys were doing this, and then it, kind of cleared up on itself. And yeah, that's possible. Although he had dramatic shifts in symptoms during sessions in my office, and he also noticed changes happening as he was asking the questions. So that shows that there is some correlation. Now, don't let the simplicity of these questions throw you off, because when you ask questions such as first, am I willing for this experience to occur? You kind of bathe in that, you kind of throw that question out. Would I release this? As you really feel into it, could I release this? And when? Even if you're, the question in and of itself is kind of the answer. So even if your brain, so to speak, throws out, no, I can't get rid of this, it's a medical disease, or I can't just get rid of this. Even if the brain kind of responds that way, just the fact that you ask the question, the network, the neural network is activated and you ask the question, it forces your brain to consider it. It forces your brain to consider it. So the first time or the first 5 times that the brain considers it, it may go, no way, this is me, this is stuck, this can't be changed. But then as the brain gets used to looking at it, comparing it, well, maybe I could, or maybe I could a little, or perhaps, the brain starts playing with it. And as it starts playing with it, it starts refunctionalizing. And then, suddenly it goes. It may go very quickly, it may go very gradually. You may ask the question for a little while and not feel that much is happening, and then suddenly, kaboom, it goes. Might be a bit like, chopping that tree. For a while, it doesn't seem as if the efforts that you're making are really making any difference at all, but each chop is kind of working its way into the tree, and then there's a tipping point where it suddenly goes. So I've had this is the only case I've had of that particular symptom, but I work with a lot of different symptoms and diseases, doing mind-body work using this type of approach, and I've had quite a few very interesting results. So it's worth checking out. Thought I'd just share this for inspiration, for something for you guys to play with. Okay, so till next time.